The Book of Werewolves, Chapter 1, Introductory. I shall never forget the walk I took one night in Vigny, after having accomplished the examination of an unknown druidical relic in the Pierre Labre at Landrodel near Champagne. I had learned of the existence of this convent only on my arrival at Champagne in the afternoon, and I had started to visit the curiosity without calculating the time it would take me to reach it and to return. Suffice it to say that I had discovered the vulnerable pile of gray stones at sunset, and that I expended the last lights of the evening in planning and sketching. Then I turned my face homeward. My walk about 10 miles wearied me, coming at an end of a long day's posting, and I had leaned myself in a scrambling over some stones to a ghoulish relic. A small hamlet was at no great distance, and I betook myself thither in hopes of hiring a trap to convoy me to the post house, but I was disappointed. Few in its place I could speak French, and the priest, when I applied to him, assured me that he believed there was no better conveyance in a place than a common cursue with its solid wooden wheels, nor was a riding horse to be procured. A good man offered to house me for the night, but I was obliged to decline, as my family intended starting early on the following morning. Out spoke the mayor. "Monsieur can never go back tonight across the flats because of the," and his voice dropped, "the loup-garous." "He says that he must return," replied the priest in his pathos. "But who will go with him?" "Aha! Liqueur. It is all very well for one of us to accompany him, but think of the coming back alone." "Then two must go with him," said the priest, "and you can take care of each other as you return." "Picou tells me that I saw a werewolf only this day, night," said Present. "He was only down by the hedge of his buckwheat field, and the sun had set, and he was thinking of coming home when he heard a rustle on the far side of the hedge. He looked over there and stood a wolf as big as a calf against the horizon, its tongue out, its eyes glaring like marsh fires. Mon Dieu! Catch me going over the Marish tonight. Why, what could two men do if they were attacked by that wolf, friend?" "It is tempting Providence," said one of the elders of the village. "No man must expect the help of God if he throws himself willingly in the way of danger. It's not so, Limucure. I heard you say as much from pulpit on the first Sunday in Lent, preaching from the gospel." "That is true," observed several, shaking their heads. "His tongue hanging out, his eyes glaring like marsh fires," said the confident of Picou. "Mon Dieu! If I met the monster, I should run," quoth another. "I quite believe you, Comtesse. I can answer for it that you would," said the mayor. "As big as a calf," threw in Pecou's friend. "If the loup-garou were only a natural wolf, why then, you see," the mayor cleared his throat, "you see, we should think nothing of it, but, Limucure, it's a fiend. A worse than a fiend, a man-fiend. A worse than a man-fiend, it's a man-wolf fiend." "But what is the young monsieur to do?" asked the priest, looking from one to another. "Never mind," said I, who have quietly listening to their pensions as I understood. "Never mind, I will walk back by myself, and if I meet the loup-garou, I will crop his ears and tail, and send them to M. Le Murier with my compliments." A sigh of relief from the assembly as they found themselves clear of the difficulty. "Alice," said the mayor, shaking his head, as though meant for the Englishman might face the devil with impunity. A melancholy flat was the mayor's, looking desolate enough by day, but now in the glooming tenfold as desolate. The sky was perfectly clear, and of a soft blue-gray tinge, illuminated by the new moon, a curve of light approaching its western bed. To the horizon reached a fen of black with pools of stagnant water, from which the frogs kept up an insistent thrill through the summer night. Heath fern covered the ground, but near the water grew dense masses of flag bulrush, among which the light slid wearily. Here and there stood a sandy knoll capped with firs, looking like black splashes against the gray sky. Not a sign of habitation anywhere, the only trace of men being the white straight road extending for miles across the fen. That this district harbored wolves is not improbable, and I confess that I armed myself with a strong stick at first, clump of trees through which the road dived. This was my first introduction to werewolves, and the circumstances of finding the superstition still so prevalent first give me the idea of investigating the history of the habits of these mythical creatures. I must acknowledge that I have been quite unsuccessful in obtaining a specimen of the animal, but I have found its traces in all directions, and just as the paleontologist has constructed a labyrinth out of its footprints in marl and one splinter of bones, so may its monograph be complete and accurate, although I have chained werewolf before me, which I may sketch and describe from the life. The traces left are indeed numerous enough, and though perhaps like the dodo or Danamoris, the werewolf may have become extinct in our age, yet he has left his stamp on classic iniquity, and he has trodden deep in the northern snows, has ridden through shod over medieval, and has howled among oriental sculptors. He belonged to the bad breed, and we are quite content to be freed from him and his kindred, the vampire and the ghoul. Yet who knows? We may be a little too hasty in concluding that he is extinct. He may still prowl in the abyss forest range still over Isantic Sepins, and be found howling dismally in some padded room of a Hanwell or Bedlam. In the following pages, I designed to investigate the notices of werewolves to be found in ancient writers of classic iniquity, those contained in the northern sagas, and lastly, the numerous details afforded by medieval authors. In connection with this, I shall give a sketch of modern folklore relating to lycanthropy. It will then be seen that under the veil of mythology lies a solid reality, that a floating superstition holds in solution a positive truth. This I shall show an innate craving for blood, implemented in certain natures, restrained under ordinary circumstances, but breaking forth occasionally, accompanied with hallucinations, leading in most cases to cannibalism. I shall then give instances of persons thus affected, who were believed by others and who believed themselves to be transformed into beasts, and who, in the paroxysms of their madness, committed to numerous murders and devoured their victims. I shall give instances of persons suffering from the same passions for blood, who murdered for the mere gratification of their natural cruelty, but who were not subject to hallucinations, nor were addicted to cannibalism. I shall also give instances of persons filled with the same propensitives, who murdered and ate their victims, but who were perfectly free from hallucination.